Welcome to RVing in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. And now your hosts, John DePietro and Bob Zagami.
RVing in New England is sponsored by our friends at Lee's Auto RV Ranch in Ellington, Connecticut. Conveniently located between Hartford, Connecticut and Sturbridge, Massachusetts, just off Route 84. Visit this family-owned dealership that sells new and pre-owned RVs, pre-owned pickup trucks for your new trailer or fifth wheel, and the latest in ATVs and powersports products. Now in their 28th year of serving outdoor enthusiasts throughout the Northeast, they offer a 28,000 square foot facility and a 50,000-pound Mohawk lift that can handle up to the largest diesel pusher motorhomes. Lee's also offers a full body shop and collision repair services. Visit Lee's Auto RV Ranch at 171 West Road, Ellington, Connecticut, or call them at 833-429-9397. Always online at www.leesautoranch.com.
Well, that was the first time I've ever had to follow a robot. That's kind of weird. Well, I'll tell you, I'm laughing, I'm crying. Our good friends, Bob Zagami and John DePietro, they're far, far away. And it's making me a little bit sad, so it's inspiring me to sing a little song for you. Way down upon the Swanee River, far, far away, that's where my heart is yearning ever, home where the old folks stay. All up and down the whole creation, sadly I roam. I'm still a-longing for that old plantation and for the old folks at home. All the world is sad and dreary, everywhere I roam, I roam. Brother, how my heart grows weary, far from the old folks at home. That's right, folks. Bob and John are somewhere down where the old folks are at home. They're down in Florida, and that's where the Swanee River resides. And they're a little bit south of that, and they're doing some good work for the RVing in New England. And we're so happy to have them down there doing their research and all their hard work like they do every week. I want to thank Tom for coming in tonight, Gabe Munoz, Jerry Plant, and Manny Terra. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And you know who else I got with me? He's going to make sure I don't screw up too bad, and that guy is Bill Sell. So, Bill, bring yourself up, buddy. How are you?
Hey there. Doing well. And I see Mr. DePietro has dialed in.
He's dialed in. Oh, my goodness. Oh,
there we go. We have at least one of the two in our duo. Is Bob with you?
He is, but I'm trying to figure it out. He can't figure out how to get on.
Well,
and you won't share your screen with him, huh?
I just hit the link. Maybe he'll come over here and
hit the link. It should come up. Yep.
Yeah, he should hit the link.
You're going vertical instead of horizontal there, buddy.
It says copy link. I hit the link and I got this.
Okay, try it again.
Hey.
Well, we see you.
Bernie.
How's it? Hey, he's got his jack. That's fantastic.
Yours didn't come through. Try it again.
No. You must be okay.
So, guys, we need to tell you that this show is absolutely spectacular. The weather's been great. And what more can we tell you?
Hey, you cut me out of the picture.
Well, it's my phone. I can't cut you out of the picture.
What happens if you turn your phone sideways?
We should get equal billing.
Get your own phone there.
I can't get it.
Look at these guys. If they're on the screen with us, they can't do it.
They're
having a fun time.
It's a good thing that down in Florida with the old folks at home, because it's kind of acting like it right now.
Okay, so
I can't do it.
We need to tell you that. Hold on. Hey, we'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right. Good. Sounds great. Hey, folks, that was your dynamic duo, obviously, but we have a great show in store tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to review a lot of the wonderful things that happened at the Boston RV and Camping Expo this past weekend. As a matter of fact, along with Bob and John, who might end up in a fist fight, we don't know, we have a couple of great guests. We have Walter Swenson, who did a wonderful seminar that he's going to review with us. And it was about a camper to camper kind of dialogue where they can engage in each other, talk about real problems, things that they have, that issues they had to work on. a little bit later on, we're going to have James Conboy, or Jimmy. Yeah, he is part of the New England RV Roof LLC company, and they do a fantastic job. He also did a seminar, and he had a display there at the show as well, right, Bill?
Absolutely. And this was a weekend of firsts for us.
Okay.
First off, it was not a snowstorm, and it
No.
wasn't 5 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So
Well,
it
we had a
made it
little bit of
very
snow on Sunday, right?
a little bit there, but
Eh.
this was an easy to work show. And we did our first RVing in New England live show where we went on site. And Bernie, you stopped in with us.
That's right.
There we go. That's our little set. We actually had multiple microphones there and the PA system on site. Everybody in the audience, as they were coming in and waiting for the show to open up Saturday morning from 9 to 10. And then we've got all the gear that was there, and that's our duo getting ready to go on air. And then you get that look from those guys. So
oh yeah.
But
you know what? I have
a
to
good
say,
time.
Bill, I got to give you kudos. You really made everything go very smoothly while you were over there setting up. And boy, I'll tell you, the color, the lights, he had the devices that he had were, small devices, but everything worked out just phenomenally. And Bill, can't thank you enough for bringing it
You're
on.
very welcome. And now I do see two people side by side on our screen, and now everybody can see them. And
not side by side. DePietro's on the other end of the restaurant, and I'm on this end of the restaurant. So
yeah, but the magic of TV, we've got you side by side right here. Right, that way you won't have feedback.
On the Bill and Bernie show.
Exactly. Hey, thanks for smiling. John's got some sourpuss on. I have no idea what his trouble is.
Sagami, because I can't hear him and here at the same time. So
you have to move
over to the area.
Keep moving around.
Yeah. Oh, he's on the move.
Okay, so at the show, a lot of dealers. This was a sold out, full wall-to-wall show.
That's right.
We had a couple of the very large dealers, obviously Campers Inn, thank you, Bernie, and Pete's RV, but they weren't the only ones there. We had literally every size of dealership and kind of unit. Bob, if you had to summarize 60 seconds, what would you say this place was all about this weekend?
Well, it exceeded every expectation that we had. Every dealer that we talked to at the show exceeded their goals, their quotas that they set by Sunday. And Monday was gravy. It was, it was frosting on the cake. They had numbers. Even Jeff Hirsch told us that it was the best Boston show Campers Inn had ever done. Chad Shepard over at Pete's on Saturday afternoon, they had received more orders than they did the entire show last year. And this was true for the big folks and the small folks. One of the small dealers that came to the show wanting to sell 10 units, which is a great show for him, sold 15 units. That's 50% increase.
Yeah.
The best thing, Bill, was the attitude of the people. It was pre-COVID attitude. They were, and Bernie, I bet you can match this. They were smiling. They were talking to people. They were talking to people in the aisle. They were talking to anybody. They were talking to the salespeople. It was just electric.
Well, the energy was positive everywhere you went. And even, in the past, we felt sometimes you feel like a little competitive, animosity between dealers. The dealers were smiling at each other, wishing each other the best of luck. Have a great weekend, stay strong, blah, blah, blah. Everybody was working together as one. It was a real unifying situation for not only the guests, but for the people demonstrating product as well.
Right.
There
you go.
That's an example of it.
They're all smiling, right? They're all smiling, talking to each other. They had a great time.
Yeah, Ray Noriega, he used to actually work for Campers Inn. He's part of Bradford RV, and then there's also Brad Moore of Bradford RV there with our fearless leader Jeff Hirsch. And you can tell like this authenticity there in their smiles, right?
Yeah. Now, Bernie, here's one thing to keep in mind is that, and because you saw it as well, but here you have Jeff Hirsch, who has 36 dealerships in 13 states.
Right.
Jeff was working the closing tables, and I said to him after, I said, Jeff, what were you doing there? He said, you never want to get too far away from your early days in the business when you had to do everything. So Jeff, again, with 36 stores all over the place, he was having a blast. And I think we have a picture of him that I sent in there, Bill.
I didn't grab that one. We have 31 photos here now, so it's,
you maxed them out.
yeah, maxed out. Yeah.
So
sitting at
we
the table.
should probably go back inside and then let you guys have a ball. And thank you very much for filling in for us this week. We're having fun. You're having fun. Anything to say, John, before we head back in?
Well, Zagami wants to go back in because there's free Jack Daniels tonight.
He needs a refill. And you're looking for what? The Chef Boyardee? No, they're going to have upgraded the food.
No. We had, we're at a place called Splitsville in Tampa, Florida. Actually, there's one in Foxborough, Mass, where it's bowling alleys, pinball machines, and that type thing. And it has food and beverage. So we're going to host a program for one of the other shows we do called the Camper Report Show. And that's going to happen in just a few minutes. So we've got to prep with the principals of that show. But we want to thank you again, as Bob mentioned, for holding the fort. And you know what, Bernie, take some questions from the people who may have gone to Boston and
absolutely
tell us what they think.
Well, you might have Maria Galanti Moore on tonight. We met her and her husband. Say we were stopped in the aisles. We were stopped by people who watch the show every week. And Maria, she is on. All right. She said she asked John if he had his SpaghettiOs, his Chef Boyardee's with him. So they watch it. We found a veteran. On that honor flight where they take the World War II veterans down to Washington.
Oh yeah.
We found
Normandy or whatever. Yeah.
The guy stopped us in the street. Stopped. Hey, I watch you guys every week. That was one of the pictures. I think we sent you the picture of him. He was
Which guy was it?
The honor flight guy, Rick.
I don't have that one teed up, unfortunately. We got a lot of the shots for everything there.
Maybe it's on my camera. It's been nonstop, guys. We're running from 6 a.m. until like 8 or 10 at night. It's crazy, but guess what? We love it.
Yeah, I can't. Your endurance is phenomenal, and we really appreciate all the stuff that you bring back to the New England RV group. It's fantastic. Thanks so much, guys. And maybe you can jump back in a little bit later.
If so, but you guys do really well. Talk to you later on.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a nice night. All right. Now we got rid of that riffraff. Okay.
There you go. See, now they're filming the Campers Report now. They're two-timing us. This is RVing in New England hour.
All right. So let's go a couple of things here. I want to check back with Jim Roy at Silver Moose Restorations because, Bernie, that's an amazing RV that you're in. Actually, I had moved in the fall, and this is my new living room. So I just wanted to, just checking, just goofing around here. And I want to show you my backyard just while we're doing this. So this is my backyard. I really like to keep things a little bit light when I have guests over and things like that. So I want to make sure they're having a good old time. In case you're wondering, that's Old Orchard Beach, the amusement park there. And I'm sure Bob and all his friends are very familiar with that area. But I had a great time meeting everybody. I did finally get a chance to meet Jim Roy, which, he's not nearly as hairy as I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be a lot hairier. I got a chance to meet Jim Conboy from New England RV Roof LLC, and he's actually going to be on the show in a little while. And I want you folks to get some questions. And then there's Walter Swenson, who I hadn't met before, but I knew of him, obviously doing all these RVing in New England shows. But he's coming on the show as well. And he did a great seminar, and he's going to go over some of the questions that people had for him and how they answered it. And, it's like problem solving, right? RVers are constantly thinking about ways to solve problems and make things better and easier while they're camping.
Yeah, what I had heard about Walter's session, it was like 45 minutes in the room, and then they all went out into the hallway and continued for another hour, longer than the actual session that was. just
And
to get through the questions.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's the commitment of someone like Walter to share that information. And God bless RVers. There's such a good group of people, such a fantastic group of individuals who really work together, and there's no class separation. There's none of that baloney. We're all in the same family here. So I want to thank everybody for joining us so far. And I know we talked about Jerry Plant and Gabe and Tom Ziobrowski, Manny Terra. I hadn't seen that name before. I'm sure you've been on it quite a bit. Of course, Maria has been on, and she, Bob's talking about her. And then Audrey, Walter, and now Walter, you need to get back because we're going to be putting you on real soon. So you might want to switch back. Make sure you're into is he in the
He's
green
in
room?
both. He can be in both of them. So he's in
He
here.
can be in both at the same time.
Hanging out, waiting for you.
Jim Turntine. Let's see. And Adam Parks. Hi, Bob, John, and Uncle Bernie. Thanks, Adam, for joining us. And I like the Boston show. Enjoyed it very much. And so I want people to talk about and put in the comments, what was the most kind of impactful thing that they saw at the Boston RV show? What kind of stirred you up the most in a positive way, hopefully? If in the negative, we'll talk about that too. But just keep it clean. All right, guys? What do you think, Bill, that we bring in Walter and share him with the rest of the audience?
Yep.
Walter.
Evening, guys. How's it going?
It's going great. Nice living room there. As and I didn't know you were a pianist.
I am not, although my grandson is. But
fantastic!
Nobody wants to hear me play a piano, nor do they want to hear me sing. So,
yeah, I'm pretty good with the yeah, chopsticks. That's about it. Yeah. So
we had a great seminar. It was just an instant idea that came up actually on the show one night when we were talking about, what do we do at the Boston RV show?
Right.
And Bob sort of ran with that idea, asked us to kind of coordinate that. So I worked with Scott Barr and we did that. We pulled together a bunch of campers, some who watch this show on a regular basis. Honestly, I really believe somebody planted the first question on the first day, because it couldn't have been any better question. And it was, okay, we bought an RV. Now what?
Wow.
And it was literally the perfect question to break.
That's an hour's worth of conversation right there.
It probably was. It actually probably was about 25 minutes. I had to sort of move on to the next question, but
that's all encompassing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the couple were boaters, so they had at least the living part, kind of a concept of RVs.
Right.
But,
all right.
But
similar type.
They had never used an RV, and they were just like, okay, what do we do with it now?
So what was some of your talking points on that question?
So great answers came out was park in your yard and camp in it for a night or two. Hey, work out the bugs where you can, have a rescue if you need to get into the house or something because something really bad goes wrong.
Yeah, take your time and figure out where all the buttons are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What they do.
And we had we had two RV techs on our panel.
Excellent.
Who are also RVers, so they were joining as RVers, not necessarily as RV techs. But one of the ideas that came out of that, it was a brand new RV, and he had a great suggestion: fill all your tanks one at a time with clean water, and then pull the dump valve so you know what dump valve actually works what tank.
Right.
Occasionally those little stickers can be put on backwards, and God forbid somebody pulls the black tank when they think it's gray water or vice versa. So that was a great suggestion.
And you got to know what it feels like, right? And how to secure the other end. Like,
Exactly.
how do you make sure
Yeah.
that other end doesn't pop out when it gets all that pressure, right? So
Exactly.
you gotta be proactive on those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So great. We had great questions. Another one that I thought was really, wasn't a question so much as it was a statement. We bought an RV. We bought a Class B. Two very nice people, and they said what they learned was they didn't understand the language of RVs. They didn't
Right.
understand gray water. They didn't understand black water. They didn't understand the different electrical system language. And so, although we didn't teach them the language, they had a better understanding of it, and they were going to go, do some research and look at some books. We obviously talked about the online training resources that are available to everybody. So they were going to go
Okay.
do that. But it was interesting that they thought we were talking a different language. I get that at work all the time because people don't know what I'm talking about, but never really thought that we were talking differently, and people would
We
not
don't know
understand
it,
it all.
right?
Yeah,
We don't
exactly.
know it,
Yeah,
and our bosses always tell us like, "Hey, make sure you say it, spell it out in plain English. Don't just
yeah,
rattle this stuff off
yeah.
because it rolls off your tongue. That's
Right,
not what you're supposed to
right.
do, right?" And
Yep.
you got to get one of those RV love books, I think, or a couple of
Exactly.
those, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We did have one technical question.
Okay.
Unfortunately, none of us could answer. Woman had an Everchill refrigerator,
Yep.
and she pushes the button, wants to turn it off, and holds it, I don't know, for 30 or 40 seconds, whatever it is. And she says, "Oh, lights go off, but then they all come right back on." And she was struggling just turning the refrigerator off. But it
You know.
shows the
Yeah.
types of challenges that can occur. Um, a great question came up, right? So I have, and I forget what the model and make was, but the gentleman had an RV and he had a problem with it. But he had a problem with the stove. And one of the tips that came back out of that wasn't about the stove. It was about describing your problems, whether it be online in a forum or on the phone to an RV tech like Ryan or one of the other guys at Campers Inn.
Okay.
Don't It's great to lead in with, I have a 2013 Cedar Creek 38 FL, but that's not the important information. Tell them I've got a Dometic, or I've got a Coleman, tell them the appliance that you're talking about and the brand of appliance, and hopefully the model number, because that's really what matters when you're trying to troubleshoot most of the systems in the RV. The year of and make of the RV doesn't really lend itself to much information when you really need is to ask, okay, here's what the appliance is that I'm having a problem with, here's what the make, here's the model. You'll get quicker and much more efficient answers,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
the people know what you're actually looking at. Um, Manufacturers rather change what's in an RV based on obviously what they can get,
Availability. Yeah.
availability and cost, right? So they're sensitive to cost, and so they're gonna install. Today they may be installing Norcold. Tomorrow they might be installing Dometic based on what they're getting.
Oh, absolutely. In this day and age, too, there's so many new products on the market for RVs, for the
Yeah.
basic needs of heat, hot water, AC, microwave stoves, all that
Yep.
stuff. Those companies, there's a lot more companies making those products now. So
Yeah.
it's really important to understand exactly what it is. Hey, Walter, while I got you on the horn here, let's just take a look. And I got a chance to meet Randy the other day at the show too, and that was a fantastic meeting. So Randy Murray, who's
Yep.
the lead service manager over at uh, Vermont. Sorry, what's name? Help me
Pizza
out here.
RV. Pizza RV.
Pizza RV. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Pizza RV. Thank you, sir. But a lot of fun. And then, oh, look at that. We got a little visit from our buddy at
Ryan.
Trip Mobile RV Services.
Yep.
Yeah. So was he in your seminar as well?
He was not. He was actually doing his own seminar when we were having ours.
Oh, wow.
And we did have a good attendance. We had great questions, great interaction, um, and it really worked out well. We even had questions like, well, they weren't asking how much should I pay for an RV as much as what cost questions should I be asking when I go to buy an RV?
Oh,
And
okay.
and for obvious reasons, monthly payment matters, but also the total cost of the RV matters. And people, we're thankful for those kinds of insight from people who have bought RVs, and were uh, had experience in doing that. And it's not that they don't trust dealers, but I think they felt better that it was coming from, Joe off the street versus, the quote unquote a sales guy. And sales guys are great. We need them, and they do a certain job, right? But
Thanks,
people,
Walter.
people sometimes, sometimes for whatever reason have, um, challenges in working with the dealers and understanding what they're offering. So, but it's, again, we had great audience, we had great participants. Some, right, so we had a couple that started their RV journey by renting RVs to figure out what they wanted, and
Okay.
then they went and bought an RV based on what they felt was appropriate for them. And they weren't one of the people who goes out, buys an RV, and then is looking 6 months later to trade it in because they're, either not enough room or too much room or what have you. um, we had another couple who started their RV journey by taking an enclosed utility trailer and making it what they wanted it to be because they couldn't find what they were looking for.
Wow.
but
That's courageous.
yeah,
Hey.
but doing that, they actually were able then to go buy a new rig this year,
Mhm.
um, because they kind of knew what they wanted to do, and they actually wound up buying kind of a small bumper pull toy hauler, which kind
Hey,
of mirrored the
Walter,
utility trailer.
give me a second here. Folks
Yep.
have been putting on a lot of great comments here, and I want to address some of those, and maybe you can help me out with some of that. Like Audrey had one. We have our forever RV, hopefully, but kicked some tires at the show she's referring to. I was surprised at the lack of campgrounds that were there, but expect the cost was prohibitive. And and I'm thinking something different. That wasn't exactly the reason why it was. And so, Frank almost pretty much answered that question by saying, Frank here, north of Boston. I called Reserve America about difficulty getting a reservation at Salisbury Beach State Park and Hampton Beach State Park today, and several tries before it's January, and some
Yeah.
places are booked up already. So some of these campgrounds, Audrey, might be booked for the whole season, and that's maybe why we didn't see as many
Right.
campgrounds here as what you might
Y- y-
expect.
Absolutely right. If my entire season is primarily booked, what's the value as a campground going to the show this year? I agree that it's great to see them, but they have to be sensitive to their costs. And if there's not a return on that expense, then it probably, from a purely business perspective, it probably doesn't make sense for them to show up.
Yeah, here's the thing. There's a lot of places don't plan for the bad times though, because being consistent with your marketing
Yeah,
will keep that campground full even when things aren't going as well.
yeah,
So campgrounds are full. That's great, and
yep,
that's why we have Boondockers Welcome and Harvest Host and all that. And people, think about this so you can make some reservations at some key spots along your trip, but in the meantime, while you're making 1 and 2 day trips to get to the location that you're trying to get to, use some of these other resources to do that.
right,
And there's
yep.
some fantastic apps as well, too. So, and we're going to go to commercial in just a minute, Bill. But let's see. Chew on appliances. Yeah, that's very good. We may have a couple of today. What's that? We may have a couple today at the Tampa show. And that exact fifth wheel we're asking each other a little issues that we've had, and we are able to help each other out and fixes. Yeah, that's just fantastic because it's all about, the camping community.
Yeah,
Everybody is working together. And just like what you did, Walter, with at your seminar, and shared information that you had or resources, because no one can know everything, but if
that's
you
right.
can help people know where to look, that's
Yep.
just
And
fantastic.
I think Maria's point is great, right? Birds of a feather. If I have a
Absolutely.
Cedar Creek or a Montana or a Cougar, and I talk to people who have the same brand and potentially the same model, we can exchange notes and trade notes and compare. Oh, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get this to work. How'd you get it to work? Matter of fact, I was doing that on a Cedar Creek forum earlier today, where they're having problems getting the slides in. So, absolutely, birds of a feather is a critical part of the industry, quite honestly.
All right, so Audrey has a pretty pertinent question, dealer question. We have a 2018 37 PA. I know that camper very well, purchased from New England dealership. We have a seatbelt recall that we cannot get the dealership to honor or to respond to. So here's the thing. There's a couple of places where you can go to. And I don't know where you live, Audrey, but there's a place in Hudson, New Hampshire, that they can probably do a recall like that. And that place is called, I'll get it for you in just a minute. I'll make sure I have it for you when we get back. And then there's a Connecticut Motor Coach that does all of those things, and they'll schedule that for you as well. So they do a lot of Tiffin recalls. And what is the name of that place? Truck Chassis in Hudson. Okay, let's see.
RVing in New England is sponsored by our friends at Lee's Auto RV Ranch in Ellington, Connecticut. Conveniently located between Hartford, Connecticut and Sturbridge, Massachusetts, just off Route 84. Visit this family-owned dealership that sells new and pre-owned RVs, pre-owned pickup trucks for your new trailer or fifth wheel, and the latest in ATVs and powersports products. Now in their 28th year of serving outdoor enthusiasts throughout the Northeast, they offer a 28,000 square foot facility and a 50,000 pound Mohawk lift that can handle up to the largest diesel pusher motorhomes. Lee's also offers a full body shop and collision repair services. Visit Lee's Auto RV Ranch at 171 West Road, Ellington, Connecticut, or call them at 833-429-9397. Always online at www.leesautoranch.com.
Hey, we're back. And I did find the name of that place in Hudson, New Hampshire. It's called Redmond Fleet. And they are very effective, efficient, quick to fix things and get you right in there. They love motorhomes, and they'll be happy to help you out with that. So there you go. Hey, Walter, love to keep you on, but we got to give a little bit of time to Mr. Conboy and stick around, though, because we might call you back a little bit later on. How's that sound?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on Jerry's message that you put up there. Absolutely, IRV2 it's literally is what our seminar was. Campers helping campers over at the our friends at RV Life Pro.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernie and Bill.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's getting ready for action. All right. A chip off the old block.
I thought there was a 15-minute countdown.
A 15-minute countdown. Well, you had a 30-minute countdown. I don't know how much you've been down and during that countdown, but we'll be happy to have you on. And just like in the style of Bob Zagami, we want to welcome Jim Conboy of New England RV Roof LLC. Thanks for joining us today. And it was wonderful meeting you at the Boston RV Show.
Pleasure to be here, Bernie.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your experience at the Boston RV Show, and then also about the seminar you did.
Well, for us, it's always been a great show. We were actually very active, both with we actually signed business, and I probably got a dozen other people coming back to us. But it's a good show, and the seminars that I did, Bob had asked me to do a couple seminars. And basically to gear it towards someone who's buying an RV for the first time. And for an RV roof, when I talk to folks, I always tell them there's two types of RVs, those that leak and those that haven't leaked yet. And, what can a new owner look at and how can they maintain the investment of what they purchase?
Right.
So we tried to gear it towards, all right, what do I look for? How do I look for it? What can I do for it? How do I solve an issue that I might have? And then, a lot of the examples I take from all the hundreds of RVs that I've worked on. And at the end of the presentation, I actually showed the folks a brand new camper and some of the issues that it had. And I hate to tell you, Bernie, it was my camper and I bought it from you guys.
Oh, goodness
But
gracious.
it's the typical thing. So, when someone buys an RV and they go through the sales process, they're all enamored and they don't think about what is it I have to do to maintain this thing. I mean, there's so many things that go on with these things. And, showing them, even though mine wasn't leaking at the time, because when I bought it, it was 7 months old from the factory to me, and it probably would have started leaking in another 3 to 6 months. So what are the things I want to teach people? What do you want to look at?
Right.
How do you maintain it? Because most manufacturers will warrant their roofs for 12 years. Agreed?
Yeah.
Right.
Some of them are changing.
Yep.
But yeah.
They are.
But that's the roof skin. That's not the maintenance of it.
Exactly. And what
It
they
has
don't
nothing to
realize
do with
is-
maintenance.
Exactly. What they don't realize is the caulking on an RV roof is only warranted for 6 months when the manufacturer puts it on. So by the time you drive off the lot, that's gone.
Well,
And
Jim, you're bringing up a good point, right? When we get the campers, they already have between 950 and 1,200 miles on them. And
Yep.
some of them actually have 1,500 miles on them, and they've gone through heck and high water,
Yep.
right? And they when the vehicle bounces around, those caulking lines are getting stressed out.
Yep.
And we tell people right out of the gate, and I know it's not fun when you have to tell someone, yeah, this maintenance that goes along with this, and you have to inspect that roof. The manufacturer recommends every 3 months, but if you don't do it every 6 months, they'll void the warranty.
You're absolutely right, Bernie. I tell people every 3 months, or even you do a long drive from Massachusetts to Florida.
Yeah.
Go up and look.
It's time. It doesn't matter how long it took you. It's time.
Exactly. So we wanted to communicate to them, what do you look for? How do you look for it?
Mm-hmm.
What are the telltale signs? What can you do about it? And of course, I showed them some pictures of things like, I don't want this to happen to you.
Right.
And, I think it went over okay. The key thing that we wanted to stress with people is when you own an RV, it's just like owning a boat. There's constant maintenance. What do you look for so you can minimize any type of potential leak on a roof? But what is the cause? Why do these things leak? So we went over the whole gamut of, the sun, the temperature, the ice, the rain,
the shock,
every movement. We went through everything to help them understand. What was funny is in 3 of the seminars I did, I had 2 existing customers there. And at the end, I said, "Why are you here?" And they said, "We just like to hear you talk."
Well, you probably saved their coach, and they're really happy about it.
Well, I did. But, it's, I don't know. It was a good show for us. We had a lot of bookings, which is unusual. My philosophy in doing a show is everyone sees us on Facebook, Google, on the internet. They come to us. We have the displays. They can see it. They can touch it. They can learn about it. And we actually booked a lock. And I got to give my hats off to one of my workers, helped me with the thing, Josh Sierra. I've made him assistant manager. And he actually booked 2 for me, which is unusual for a newbie to do that type of thing.
Okay. So he's just getting it. He gets the magic, right?
Yeah, he's got the magic, believe me.
You got a couple of fans here. So Jim Roy, aka Squatch, was there and to hear you talk, which is wonderful. And Trick Mobile RV Services is really supporting your perspective here because he realizes that maintenance is the key to keeping the value up on your RV.
Yeah.
And the longer you own it, the more potential value it has, or more retention of value it can have if you take good care of it.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about what is the procedure that you use, and why is it different than typical caulking and cleaning of the roof?
Well, if you look at either a rubber roof, even the fiberglass roofs, the vinyl roofs, they're thin. They could be 27 mils. When we apply the Flex Armor roof, it's 187 mils thick, or about 3/16 of an inch.
So that's 7 times more material than what normally comes with it.
Yes. The big difference is in our prep. 95% of what I and my employees do is prep.
Okay.
We'll set the new roof. So when we spray this roof, it's sprayed at a very high PSI, at a very high temperature. It sets up within 6 seconds as a solid.
Wow.
And it's chemically bonded to the roof.
So
people ask,
are you taking off the roof skin before you do this?
No. If it's well adhered, I can leave it. The only time I have to take a membrane off is the old Dicor roofs.
Yep.
That field. You remember those?
EDPM, yeah.
Yeah. And then if someone has a roof coating on it that we can't adhere, we just rip it off.
Okay.
But I can spray onto wood, aluminum, fiberglass, Phylon, TPO, EPDM. It doesn't matter.
Oh, wow.
It's all in the prep. But the thing that we do is we create a seamless monolithic roof. No caulking, no seams, front to back, side to side. And that's important with the TPO vinyl roofs.
Okay.
We encapsulate anything on that roof where water cannot penetrate.
So it's going to adhere to the old caulking, or does the old caulking get
No,
removed?
we remove all the caulking.
Okay. Yeah, because that would seem to be a weak spot, yeah.
Yep, and I also remove all the manufacturer screws.
You're kidding me.
That's another weak spot, especially at the front end and the cowls, because you have a number 6 screw with a little shiny head.
Yep.
And you know how Forest River, Grand Design, Keystone were having problems with the membrane was blowing out of the front cowl.
Yeah.
Even the travel trailers. There's not enough meat on those screws to bond or to bite into the usually it's OSB plywood these days.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
So what we do is we take them all out. We start from new. I get everything on that to accept the roof to give that customer a lifetime warranty.
So you use stainless steel or galvanized screws, or what are you using?
No, it's just mostly they're galvanized.
Okay.
Self-tapping glass screws. The biggest problem I have with honestly with the manufacturers is around the skylight domes. They don't chuck the drill bits. They screw down. They either dimple, crack, or smush the flange around those shower domes.
So it doesn't seal.
And you know what? I pity the manufacturers or you guys, the dealers. You can't see that.
Right.
And in my seminar, I actually brought a dome off a brand new Jayco Eagle. And I said, look, if you're having troubles, don't do the internal bond tape. Look, here's a dome. If you've recocked it and done it the right way, you should be fine. But if it keeps leaking, all right, here's the point in time where you want to take that off and look at the flange and look at the cracks, the pressure points that they've created. And it's no fault of the dealer. They didn't make it. This is the way they come.
The dome itself is leaking.
Exactly. So, we had a good seminar. I did it 3 times. I was exhausted at the end of the week.
Sure.
And I'm going to give a shout out to Ryan at Trick Mobile. I actually had him at my shop today. We have an older Monaco Diplomat. We could not get the rear AC going because part of our process is when I work on a roof, we remove the air conditioners. I'm going to seal underneath it as well as the opening.
You remove the whole AC or just the cowling?
No. When we take the AC off,
Wow.
So I'm going to spray underneath the.
Oh, I got you.
Right.
So you're making
But
sure the
I'm
roof
gonna
itself
spray
is
that
sealed.
I'm going to spray the opening down the sides, and I'll tell you
Okay.
that in a minute. But anyway, one of my protocols is the rig comes in, we power it up, we fire up the ACs. I want to make sure they're working. When they leave, I don't want someone coming back to me and saying, "You worked on my roof, the AC doesn't work." And the gentleman I'm working on with this Monaco he's a nice guy, and we could not get it going. But what I learned from him was he just bought it. He's investing to put a new roof on it. When he bought it, he had one AC running, but he couldn't get that going, and he couldn't get the fridge and some fans going.
Goodness.
So we found a short in one of the Dometic Fantastic fans for the rain sensor.
Okay.
And when the rain sensor shorted, it shorted the 12-volt circuit. We could not get that AC going in zone 2. So I had contacted Ryan, and I do a lot with him. Things that I can't do,
Yep.
I will bring an expert in. And I brought Ryan into the shop, and I said, "Ryan, can't get this going. Can you help me?" Diagnose what the problem is. And son of a gun, he diagnosed the problem. We got a solution for the guy. We know what's going on. But that's kind of my philosophy, is that I only do roofs. If someone calls me for another problem, I can refer, and I have other RV techs that I deal with. Or if someone is a stationary park model or a seasonal site that has put a porch or a screen room, I can't help them. They got to bring it to us. I have another partner that can go to them. So I think the whole thing was, how do you help people, basically?
Hey, Jim, let me just acknowledge what Ryan had put here. It was nice. It would be nice if all dealerships could list in make and model number on a list of all the appliances so the owner knows what they have. That's a great point. In most cases, the good manufacturers do make a list. It's actually a handwritten list because things they can vary from one unit to the next, right? So that handwritten list, if we made a copy of that and gave it in their deal package to the customer, that I think that would be a great idea. And I think I'm going to make that suggestion. Thank you very much, Ryan, for bringing that up.
And my Grand Design has a listing of the components, but what they don't go is to the make, model, and serial number. But if they had that information, it's very easy to service them with a third party.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, because they just get out their packet when they did their paperwork, rip it out, and oh, the AC is blah, 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 So, and nowadays, it, could be 20 different things, 30 different things. So that is a great idea. And, we like to acknowledge that. And Dante, we appreciate that you acknowledge that you're late, and we forgive you, and we still love you, and we'll keep it going that way. Someone quick, make an app for this and retire rich. Oh, what? That's awesome. Yeah, that's our boy. Fantastic. Hey, Jim, why don't you hang around? I want to talk a little bit more about some of the other things that happened at the Boston RV show. And if we want to bring Walter back in, we can bring Walter back in. And, I don't know if you can put 5 up there, Bill, but I'd love to talk to you too. You're such a well-spoken gentleman.
Well, that's 4. Math is still working here with 4. We don't have the other 2 guys missing. I can pop him in the middle if you want.
Yeah.
That's him down in Florida.
Yeah.
But they did not return.
Is that the only shot you can get? Yeah.
That was the only one. He did send the bedroom, which is, I don't know what unit this is, but that's a king-size bed there. That's a good size.
Sure is, yeah.
And in Tampa, they are showing some very bold-looking colors here. And this was the only shot he sent. Bob asked, what does the audience think? Would you get a unit like this, or are we going to stick with these traditional grays and tans?
I think that red, red is good, but I don't think it's the right red. It's really just too straight. Like I don't know, it's like red off the flag, or something like that, or off this live symbol in the corner of the. We need a red with some depth of color and maybe a little bit of fleck, metallic fleck, and with a hint of blue to make it a little more burgundy. I don't know. I should have been a designer, I guess, but I like something with a little bit more, just instead of like a real solid one color. It's got to have class. It's got to have style,
Well, that's the most popular of the Ford Explorer colors, is that metallic red.
Well, that's not a metallic red. Yeah.
Yes. With the flecks in it.
Like a hint of burgundy, right?
Yeah.
So
State police must love that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But when you have that bright, like just pure red like that, boy, you get sick. I would get sick of that pretty quickly, I would think. Yeah, I don't know. What do you can tell me I'm wrong, Jim. So let's talk about what else we saw at the show this weekend. So
we had that Girl Camper Pavilion. That was a new one,
my
the first time for us. Jeanette Pettit and I had met actually with Bob at the January 2020 event. And we talked for a couple of hours about what we could be creating for that group. There were about 36,000 girl campers in the Facebook group at that point. And then we know what all happened for the ensuing 24 months.
Yep.
And the idea just sat there. But in March of 2020, on the same day that New York City shut down for the pandemic, I was meeting with Janine, and we created what is Girl Camper Magazine now.
Wow.
And that magazine, when it started, and this was part of our show on Saturday, we talked about it. The business plan called for 24 pages total. It ended up being 96 pages for the first issue.
Oh my
and
goodness.
They won an award as the largest initial launch of a specialty interest publication in the year 2020. So a tremendous launch.
Phenomenal. And she is such a celebrity, and also she's such a real, genuine person. She's so gracious, and she's so honest and real. And I think that's why so many people are attracted to her into the mission of Girl Camper for sure.
And it is a huge group now. They're up to 400,000 Facebook group members. But what's very unique here is when someone poses a question, you break down in Arizona someplace, what is a good dealership I should go to, or a good repair person that might come to me? And they get an answer, and they get an answer quickly. So they had a little seminar space there. Folks came in, they got to take a look at the little guy trailer that was on loan from Lee's, which was the booth next one over. And of course, one of their sponsors is Progressive. So Flo was there, sort of. And you could get your photo with Flo. So people got to sit around the campsite there and meet Flo. But interesting stuff. A lot of great content came out of there, both the seminars on the floor, but then also the ones that were upstairs. And Walter, you were in the technical track, was yours, or was yours the
lifestyle
track? Yeah. The two tracks made a big difference, because somebody who already has a unit and might be on the fourth or fifth unit, they weren't going to necessarily go to the lifestyle one. They were going to go and get some deeper dive technical information. So we're expanding to that, and hopefully we'll be able to go even deeper into this in the new year at the 2024 program.
So I met the father and son that operate the RV pump service. And it sounds kind of like a funny thing. What a weird little business. He's out on Cape Cod, but I'll tell you, he was explaining to me that he has 100% success rate of bringing people's tank sensors back up to snuff and back operational. So he provides quite an amazing service. And what a great thing to do at the end of the season and at the beginning of the season. So now you have sanitized tanks, clean them up. And he says, people's tanks, those sensors will work for years and years after he's done one service. So it's a tremendous,
he's pumping it, but plus he's also doing that.
It's like a lubrication of some sort. He mentioned.
Well, he uses a steam cleaner as well. So.
Oh wow, yeah. So he's totally sanitizing that thing out too. So.
Yep.
It's a stinky job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, a friend of mine who's actually on our audience there a little bit earlier, Gabe Munoz, he has a service like that he's operating out west. And I can't for the life of me. Clean Tank is the name of his company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a growing field. And I think there's going to be a lot of room for growth in that field because, there's so many new campers and people aren't as like hands-on as they used to be when it comes to certain stuff, right?
Yeah,
They'd
exactly.
rather not do those things. But so as long as there's someone out there willing to do it, that's fantastic. Now, who I didn't see, and I wish I had seen him. I saw him last year. Was Chris Doherty. Now, there's a resource and a half. That
Yeah, I
gentleman.
sat with him for a few minutes between seminars, and we had a great conversation.
Yeah, so Walter, do you know a little bit about him, who he is, and what he's all about, and why someone like that has a great knowledge of
Yeah, he's got a
RVs?
long history of writing reviews and technical articles in a lot of the magazines, both end user and trade. Great experience. He did a lot of RV reviews for Camper Life and Motorhome Life and all of those magazines.
Yep.
And he's working with New England RV Dealers Association and the local county sheriff, training new
Oh
techs
yeah,
and
that's phenomenal.
giving people a second chance at life and an opportunity to grow a career in a place that maybe they didn't even think was an option. So
Right.
that program seems to be going well, and they've apparently just graduated some techs, and they'll be available at some of the dealers shortly.
The industry needs techs. And
Yep.
what a better way to get people involved in an industry where there's growth potential and that you can really change your life being part of an RV dealership. And
Right.
if you, are willing to learn, if you're handy, and being an RV tech, I think, is one of the greatest ways to get into the industry because you can have a better understanding. Some of the people that I work with on a daily basis started off in service working as techs, and they have
Yeah.
knowledge that I'll never have of the inner workings of stuff. So when customers call, and they can't always get a service tech, but usually one of the RV matchmakers has enough experience to be able to answer even a complicated question with one of the customers. So it's so handy, and that's God's work right there, and God bless him for doing it for sure.
Ryan has a comment here. Great thing to do before you need black tank work. Also, I think that seems to be a little self-serving.
Yeah,
and I don't blame him at all.
Yeah, for sure. If you can save from him having to pull a tank down because it's either blocked and not functioning properly, or something's growing inside of it, or someone's living inside of it, that'd be good to get that taken care of, right?
Yep, exactly.
So I want to hear from our listening audience. What did you see at the Boston show that you think is worthy of the show tonight? So you can bring it to our attention. We'll discuss it. We have a couple of minutes left, literally 2 minutes left, and then we're gonna have to call it quits. So please throw in your thoughts, concerns, comments. And what else did we have there for great seminars? Now, Bob Zagami always does this intro to RVs and the RV lifestyle. I mean, for people that are coming in, they hear about RVing, they want to do it, but they don't know anything, and they're frightened. A lot of people, you see that look on their face of fear, and like, how do we do this? And how do we not become a statistic? And we want to become one of the people that enjoy RVing, not someone that has a disaster, right? So talking to someone like Bob, what a fantastic resource he is, for sure.
Yep, exactly.
Well, I've actually called Mr. Zagami from the road. I rented some units when we were doing events, and we were in Salt Lake City, and went to fire up the hot water and just couldn't get it going. And there were two switches, and took a picture of one of them, and 911 texted it to Bob, and he said, flip that switch 90 degrees. And wow, that was all it took. I was trying to call the owner of that unit, and because we rented the unit there, and he was not picking up, and I was expecting 2 or 3 days of ice cold showers.
Oh goodness!
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you have a friend like Bob, and he's there for you.
Came out in the pinch. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. It's getting to be 8:00. I think it's time that we have to run our final ad. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and Walter for joining us. Bill, you've been running the helm. Jim Conboy doing a great job, and all our wonderful listeners this evening. And I want to thank Bob and John for giving me another opportunity to share my time with you. I love it. It's the best thing that I see every week. So thanks so much, folks.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
wonderful
Thanks,
evening.
guys.
Okay. Thank
Great
you.
show.
RVing in New England is sponsored by our friends at Lee's Auto RV Ranch in Ellington, Connecticut. Conveniently located between Hartford, Connecticut and Sturbridge, Massachusetts, just off Route 84. Visit this family-owned dealership that sells new and pre-owned RVs, pre-owned pickup trucks for your new trailer or fifth wheel, and the latest in ATVs and powersports products. Now in their 28th year of serving outdoor enthusiasts throughout the Northeast, they offer a 28,000 square foot facility and a 50,000 pound Mohawk lift that can handle up to the largest diesel pusher motorhomes. Lee's also offers a full body shop and collision repair services. Visit Lee's Auto RV Ranch at 171 West Road, Ellington, Connecticut, or call them at 833-429-9397. Always online at www.leesautoranch.com.
This edition of RVing in New England was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.